This episode of Tighten Up the Podcast is brought to you by Last Shot Premium Hydration, the official hydration drink of Tighten Up. Their revolutionary formula is packed with vitamin B12 and 0 grams of sugar. It helps the Titans hydrate, replenish, and recover. And right now on Amazon, get 15% off their mango and cranberry raspberry flavors while supplies last. Try it at Callahan Hall or learn more at lastshotofficial.com. And before we kick off this edition of Tighten Up, we do want to extend our condolences to the family of George Feflis. The men's basketball program lost one of its great Titans as Hall of Famer George Feflis passed away at the age of 93 earlier this week. George Feflis earned 3 letters for the Titans from 1952 to 1955. He was a 2-time team captain, the only 2-time captain in Bob Callahan's 21 years as Titans head coach. Raised in Chicago, All-State and All-City as a senior, eventually became a Titan, but he was somebody who was just as important as a leader and a focal point to his team as any person that's ever put on a Titan uniform. And as more evidence can show, he ended up becoming a high school coach after his time with the Titans and later an athletic director at Livonia Bentley for 22 years before he ended up going back to Chicago. So certainly a lifetime in athletics and someone who made their mark at the University of Detroit Mercy. So our condolences to the family of George Feflis, a life well lived. He was 93 years old.
Detroit, it's time to tighten up. Welcome to Tighten Up, the podcast, presented by The Shield NIL. Brought to you by Hyperice and Last Shot Energy. A state of the Titans, the latest in Detroit Mercy athletics, and a chance to hear from Titans all over the world. Here's your host, Dan Hasty.
Yes, it's show number 4, conversation number 2, and Eli Holman has decided to tighten up. We had Orlando Lovejoy last week, and now for the first time, we get to chat with someone whose name is in the rafters at Callahan Hall. Eli Holman is also connected to Orlando Lovejoy. He's his uncle. He was in town watching Orlando during the Titans' huge come-from-behind victory over Purdue Fort Wayne last week. What a cool moment it was for him to see that in person. So we got a chance to catch up with Eli while he was in town and to hear what he is. Of course, few people represent what the Titans have been and now can influence where they're going, like Eli. So to hear his past experiences and how those can relate to where this Titans team is right now, it's really interesting. And kind of the parallels between that team, the teams with Ray McCallum Sr. and Jr. and some of the other guys. And you'll hear him mention a lot of names if you are familiar with that team and how this Titans team of 2024-25 can find a way to replicate what a team like that did. And who knows if that's this year or the year after that. I know they're certainly building to that, and who knows how soon that comes along. I think you'll also find it interesting to hear the interaction he had with Mark Montgomery. And I think once you hear, I don't think you'll be surprised at all to hear how it went down the first time those two connected. Don't forget, the Titans are trying to get a lot of things done out and about in and around the city of Detroit. You can help out as well. Join our community at The Shield online at theshieldnil.org. theshieldnil.org, and follow us on X and Instagram at theshieldnil. And if you end up on that website, if you go to the tab that says donate, ironically, there is a way you can donate in honor of Eli Holman. There is a way you can donate as a tribute to one of the great blocked shot artists in the history of Detroit Mercy basketball. So see if you can go find that tab, the Eli Holman level, inside theshieldnil.org. And now, without further ado, the man you saw block so many shots as the Titans made their way to a Horizon League conference title just about a decade ago. Here comes the one and only Eli Holman right here on Tighten Up, the podcast. Tighten Up, the podcast is back. Another conversation. And, well, we had Orlando Lovejoy. So who better to talk to than Orlando's uncle? You may have heard of him. His number and his name are in the rafters at Callahan Hall. And Orlando's uncle just happens to be back watching his nephew play for Detroit Mercy basketball. Eli Holman is in the building. Eli, what's good, man? Welcome back.
Oh, man, thank you. It's good to be back, and thank you for having me. Man, it's just being in this house brings back old memories.
I'm telling you, to get you back in here, I mean, this is a place, and based on everything that's going on right now, we're trying to reconnect with our roots, with our past. And you're such an important part of it because you're our last connection to the last great Titans team. I mean, team, right?
Yeah.
And successful Horizon League champions. So when we think back to a guy who was selfless, a guy who gave up his body and his energy for the good of winning, a name like Eli Holman should be the first name that comes to mind for people that think about Detroit Mercy basketball. And to get you back in here, not only as just somebody that watches Detroit Mercy basketball, but it's somebody that also is here as a support and as an uncle to a focal point of what we hope to be the resurgence of Detroit Mercy basketball and Orlando Lovejoy. It kind of has to feel like it's come full circle for you.
It has. And first of all, thank you for wonderful things. But, it has come full circle. The process when he entered into the portal and I was his first call and we were just talking and, and I actually really just told him kind of follow his heart, So to come back and watch him be a leader and to actually hear him on your last podcast, the way he spoke about his teammates and how he was just selfless. It just shows you the kind of character that he has become as a young man and as a father and as a player on and off the court.
How crazy is it to watch him now become a dad?
It's still shocking, but when you look at him, how he carries himself, man, I mean, everything about him is just a leader, even at home. And myself and the family, we couldn't be more proud of him to, for what he's accomplishing, like I said, on the floor and at home as a father.
On top of that, he also mentioned that you were watching his brother, Lewis, play in Pontiac. So tell me about Lewis.
He might kill me when he see me, but I think Lewis might be better. I think Lewis is going to be better than him. I love these guys. I flew in Wednesday night when I found out that Lewis and both Tayshaun and Terrence Hicks were all on the same team. So I didn't want to miss that. And then followed by the great win against Fort Wayne. It's such a blessing and an honor to see these guys play when every time I looked up in the stands, they were right there cheering and excited and watching me come up, watching these guys when they were just babies, basically. And it's truly amazing. Lewis is going to be a very special athlete, a very special kid. And so are the Hicks twins. They're going to be very special athletes. And Lovejoy got to watch out, man, because, he got some competition coming up after, with them three. So he's going to have to watch out. He's going to have to hold that title as long as he can.
So I'm curious, what winning looks like here, especially since you've already seen it, you've already been a part of it, you've already helped accomplish that. And now you get a chance to influence a player who can be directly responsible for helping achieve that here. So what did it look like from your perspective on the team you were on, and how can that replicate here with a guy like Orlando?
His work ethic. That's the one thing that I preached to him his entire career. You want to be the hardest working guy on and off the court. You want to be a leader. And in order for us to get another banner hanging up, you're going to have to swallow the pride. You're going to have to swallow the egos. And you're going to have to take this monkey of sort and kind of put it on your back. Even though you can share it when you got guys like Legend and all these other great players, Miles, you have to show up and show out. And I said that's the one thing that I respected about Ray. Ray McCullum Jr., when push came to shove, he put the monkey on his back and he kind of helped carry us. And that's what I want for Orlando because I know he can do it. I mean, he physically has the shoulders for it, that's for sure. So to see him be a leader and to see him want to win. And I told him, hey, man, all you need is 3 more guys. If you can get 3 more guys with the same mindset you got, I mean, you got a heck of a team because I promise you all the other guys will fall into place with that. And so to see him want that is very driving for me. And it makes me want to sit here and say, hey, man, I got to catch more games.
There's a bunch of new guys on this team, Orlando being one, but I also don't really consider him that new because he's also been in this building since he was like yay high.
Exactly.
But there's a ton of new guys. There's also a ton of freshmen. And he's bringing some guys along right now, trying to catch them up to speed. There's some baptism by fire that's happening right now. So I'm curious, who are some of the guys that you remember bringing along in the same way that Orlando's having to do that?
You know, believe it or not, I think for all of us on that team, it was kind of all hand in hand. Man, I mean, when you got guys like Chase Simon, you know, even though Ray came in as a freshman, I mean, the load for him was just, and the pressure was just so big. I mean, so he had to basically, like you said, man, he had to just jump in the fire and just be ready to go. You take guys like Jason Kalish, you take guys like Big LaMarcus Lowe. I mean, we all kind of went hand in hand with each other. Nick Minerath, Doug Anderson. I mean, when you take these guys and you put them all together, even Jordan Fee played a huge role for us. And just being a great teammate. So for me to kind of say the guys I kind of just tug along, it's going to be hard. But I mean, because I think for us in that year, we were all just great hand-in-hand guys.
With Ray Sr. and Ray Jr., tell me about how that dynamic worked for you guys. Because, of course, we saw with Mike Davis Sr. and, of course, Antoine, and we saw the great personal achievements and the great milestones that Antoine was able to hit. But the Titans didn't win as many games as they wanted to. But with Ray Sr. and Ray Jr., we saw great personal success, but we also saw great team success. What did you notice? How were you guys able to achieve, or I guess in this case, how was Ray able to achieve both sides of the coin?
Ray Sr. never played fiddle to anybody. He didn't play fiddle to little Ray. He was straightforward. He gave Ray Jr. the same treatment that he gave Jordan Fee. And that was the most beautiful thing that I loved about Ray Sr. And the reason why I followed him here was he was straight down the middle. And when we saw that as players, because you sit there and say, okay, this is the coach's son, what's going to happen? But when you see that his attitude never changed. His tone didn't change. When he yelled at us, he yelled at Ray. So when you see that, it gives you as a player confidence to say, hey, I can play for this guy because everybody's getting the same treatment. Now, what Big Ray and Little Ray might have talked about off the court in the privacy of their home, that's different. But what we saw was a leader leading his team, and it made us want to follow him.
So speaking of following him, take me back to that conversation when you decided to follow him, come here. What went into that, and how much of a decision was that for you? It
was so easy. After talking to Calvin Sampson, he made it very clear on where I should go. And I told Ray Sr. that I don't care where he went, NAIA, D2, I was coming. And
Calvin Sampson helps you with this.
Calvin Sampson helped with that decision. He ended up leaving as well to go be the coach for the Rockets, assistant coach for the Rockets. So just kind of getting his guidance as well. And Ray spent numerous time and hours recruiting me and into me and my academics. So it was only right, not fair, only right that I owe him that much loyalty that he gave me. And I told him I didn't care where he went, I was coming. And whoever thought it was only just a 4-hour drive down the road, and it was worth it. And I couldn't imagine playing for him anywhere else than here. The love, the support, the fans, the city. I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, to me, I know people may say, oh, this is crazy, he's saying this, but it was a bigger atmosphere to me than it was at IU, being here with him and following him here. It was, in my adult life, that was one of the best decisions I made.
I'm sure he wasn't the only one that recruited you. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there were other people.
Yes.
What was it about him that was different?
He stayed loyal. No matter what, he stayed loyal. He stayed, he was a God-fearing man. He loved my family, and I'm big on family. And he took me in, and fed me and clothed me and just made me feel like I was Eli McCallum, basically. Mm. And I couldn't fathom anybody else being a great father figure that he was to me, coming into Indiana, which made me want to stay loyal to him.
You are now a father figure yourself. Yeah. You are not even just a figure. You are a father yourself. You have a 14-year-old daughter who at last check was in, I think, size 13.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about what's going on with her basketball career and what else she has going on.
She's loving it. She's in track as well. She's loving it. Word has kind of gotten around who her father is back home. So I got to do the fatherly duties and make the appearances. I try to keep a low profile when I do, because, the kids nowadays, when they see their parents in the stands, especially, hey, okay, your dad had a very great career, and, they can get a little shy or want to show off. So I try to eliminate that. I don't let nobody know I'm in the gym, sitting in the back in the dark with my hoodie on. But great kid, man. I couldn't ask for a better daughter. Like, academically, 2 years in a row, straight A's, athletically, she got it. She's getting it along. She's filling into that frame, she's now 15. Her birthday was March 2nd. She's now 15. She's 6 foot. She's still in that size 13, wow. And she's filling out. And I couldn't be more of a proud father.
So give us some advice on, whether it's anybody who's a girl dad or somebody like Orlando who is coming up on a second birthday party for their daughter, what do they have to look forward to? Or what should they look out for?
Oh, man. Well, Lovejoy is about to run to them terrible twos. So, I'm just going to shower him with some love, because they're going to need it for them terrible twos. When you have girls as fathers, it just makes you want to be more of a protector. It makes you want to spend more time with them. You kind of eliminate all the outside noise, and you just want to focus on what they're doing. You don't want to miss a beat. And I'm so happy that I was able to do that for my daughter, and I know he's doing it for his. I heard him say that whenever he got up in the morning and they opened the refrigerator, she basically picks breakfast. So when you hear things like that, it blows your mind when you say, "Wow, this is a 21-year-old young man who is like, it sounds like he's 50." And so, man, that is so proud. So he has some good things to look forward to. I know he's not going to be looking forward to them terrible twos. I'm warning him now. That's going to be different, especially being a girl dad. But what he has to look forward to is just great memories and great joy coming up with these babies.
And the twos might be easy, but if the twos are easy, then the threes are going to be relentless. I promise you that much, Orlando. All right, so take me back to the team with Ray Sr. and your teammates, because I know that for all the work you guys did on the floor, you guys have that to worry about, you guys have the classroom to worry about, but you also make it a point to get out and do things in the community. You guys are in an area where it's so important to get out and help people. Take me back to some of the things that you remember doing and what meant something to you.
I think when we got here, I remember going to Coach McCallum and telling him I want to do what we used to do at IU, and what that was mandatory team night, no coaches, and we couldn't go anywhere where you had to be quiet. So we couldn't go to the movies, the library. Some of them guys wasn't in there anyway. But a mandatory team night, and it worked out. Well, we had mandatory team dinners at the Mongolian Grill over in Royal Oak, and I mean, whatever we can do. And even helping out in the community, we all end up getting little summer jobs down at the Riverwalk, so it still kept us together. Anything we can do to create that bond, which I don't think I know, made us stronger on the floor, which is why we got that banner hanging up, and I really believe that. And I would love to see more of that tradition carry on even into this new team, because that really did something for us. It gave us a brotherhood that even now, after everybody has graduated, and some of them have Donovan Foster is a police officer now in Chicago. Chase Simon just retired. Ray still kicking and screaming, still playing overseas. LaMarcus Lowe is just, I mean, he's just everywhere in the front office with the Lions and the Pistons. And so Big Nick just finished playing overseas, and he's back home, and now he's getting into the training world. So you look at these guys, and we all still have that brotherhood because of what we had here. And that's very key, and that's very important.
I think about that team. I think about the continuity and what Mark Montgomery is trying to build here. I'm sure you've had conversations with Monty about what he's trying to do, and you watch the energy that he has on the sidelines. I'm sure you've heard all about the intensity and the competitiveness. What's your read on what dynamic he's brought in the short time that he's been here?
Having that sit-down meeting with Coach, which I respect, once he took the job, first thing he did was reach out to Bishop Hicks, our grandfather, and say, I need to have a sit-down with the big fella. And when time allowed it and I flew out to meet him, great conversation, straight shooter, right to the point. And I love that. You know, he didn't beat around the bush about what he wanted, about what he was looking for, about what he was trying to accomplish here, and what he expected from every single player. Every single player had a different role, and I loved it. I think he's going to be really special for this team and the rebuilding that Detroit Mercy is doing, and I'm excited to see him help make that change. When you look at maybe through the coaching process, some names that were brought up, I don't see them really kind of fitting with the energy that he brings. And these guys need that energy. They got to see that, hey, win, lose, up or down, but coach is in it with you, and he shows that. Like, no matter what, I'm in it with you. And you don't see that a lot in certain schools, or teams trying to bounce back, being 1-30. You don't see that. So he's definitely is bringing some awareness back to UAD as well as the players, and it's good to starting to see the seat starting to fill up a little bit more.
Do you gravitate towards players who play the way you played?
I love it. I love it. I'm not all for soft basketball. I can't stand it. I loved it. I love a guy that's physical, that's going to talk trash, get up there, two-hand dunk on you. I enjoy that because it lets me know that, hey, I'm here all night. And for me, that was my mentality. I'm here all night. I don't care who we played against. And so when I see players like that, guards, especially bigs, there's something about bigs where I see that and I'm just like, I love a bully. But it takes a bully to know a bully. So I gravitate towards that. I love it. And I see that with some of these guys. Legend has it. Love it. Orlando has it. When he wants to have it, he goes out and he gets it and he's a bully. And I love that. I love when I see guys like that. And even Coach is a bully, and I love it. He's like, hey, man, we're not laying down. We're going to play to this final horn. So when you see stuff like that, I'm excited inside. But then I'll also show it. So I absolutely gravitate to things like that.
You need to have some dogs.
Oh my God,
some guys and go get it.
You have to. If you don't have at least 2 or 3 dogs on your team, then you guys are just out there.
Who was one of those guys who was like that before you came along? Earl Curitan.
Oh yeah,
he was one of those guys, and it's easy to think about him. And I think about his style. I think about your style, and I know that he was somebody that was close to you because he was somebody that was close to all of us.
Yeah.
And I know that obviously his passing hit all of us hard, but what do you remember most, or how do you remember him most fondly?
When he would come to the games, he would always put me aside before the game. All right, big fella, you got to work, you got to eat. The big guy out there stopping you from putting food on the table for your family. It was the same speech every single game that I saw him. And it just made you want to play harder. And especially when you're coming from a Hall of Famer, coming from a legend such as himself, both at UD and in the professional world. So that was real key, man, coming from a legend like that. It was unfortunate of his passing, yet he was so young in our eyes. And, not only did you lose a legend, but you lost a friend, somebody who was there and had your back.
Kind of think about when he had, of course, his long NBA career. He played overseas as well, kind of like you did. And I know you got a chance to see a lot of the world. You certainly got a chance to be well-traveled. Do you miss it?
Yeah, I do. To experience different cultures and the people, it's just amazing, man. Just to get it out of the world, and it gives you a better appreciation of home. It really does, to see, even some countries that are not as fortunate as we are, but it gives you the ability to see what it's like to do certain things, and it forces you to adapt. You have to, okay, hey, I'm here. I was in China for 10 years, so it's like, hey, I gotta adapt. I gotta learn some kind of Mandarin, because if not, you don't want to be over there. And for them, it gives you a great deal of respect. They show you respect. Oh, hey, this guy's here. He's traveling. He's trying to learn the language. So to see the world, and of course, it's always beautiful when you can see the world on somebody else's dime. It's always amazing.
Yeah, it's a little sweeter.
Yeah, for sure. That's the cherry on top. So, it's been an honor and a privilege. I do miss it. I do want to try to make it a point to kind of go back to each country that I played in and visit and catch a game. I was able to do that in Mexico and in Puerto Rico. But it would be nice to do that.
If somebody ever tells you, and I'm sure they have, I'm going to Europe or I want to build a European vacation, where should I go? Where would you tell them? Where would you put their itinerary? How would you build that?
Oh, man, I would say you got to go to Dubai.
You've been?
Been to Dubai. Dubai brought me out just to play against Dubai.
How did you ever get out with any money in your pocket?
Oh, my goodness.
That place just feels like it takes away your bank account.
And it's beautiful. It is beautiful, just surrounded by water. And it's beautiful. Beaches, I mean, oh, my goodness.
What'd you do there?
Walked. I don't like walking, but I definitely walked. Got a chance to see, all the landscape and the sculptures that you see on TV is real. Everything they say about Dubai is it's amazing, and the respect they have for each other. They don't allow disrespect in the country, which I think is very interesting. Because if you disrespect somebody, then you could probably go to jail. So that was new. I never, if you disrespect somebody in public, you go to jail, and that's new. So force you to be respectful, So
better be on good behavior.
Oh, please, man, you have to. But Dubai was beautiful. Israel was beautiful as well. Israel was beautiful. Lebanon was beautiful. Of course, China was just amazing. So, you don't even have to go in them orders. But them are some places for sure I would highly recommend that people go.
Can't believe you've been to Dubai. How long did you go there?
I was in Dubai for a month. A month. And I absolutely loved it. I hated it when I had to leave. But it was beautiful.
Before we let you go, you're now getting an excuse to come back here a little bit more often. You can come see Orlando. You can come see this team play. You got a chance to see them over the course of this weekend. What gives you hope for this particular version of this men's basketball team based on what you saw over the course of the weekend?
Their work ethic. They don't stop playing into that final horn, and that's what you got. You got to have that. A lot of teams, they get down 10, 20, maybe a minute or so left, and they kind of give up on themselves. You don't see that with Detroit Mercy. Not this time around. Not this team that I've seen in these last two games. And they fought. And there was proof on Thursday when they down and came back and won the game. That's proof right there. So against a team that's projected to win it, and you were projected to be last, that shows heart, determination, and grit. And I can get down with that any day, which that right there makes me want to continue to come back and watch that, because at least you know what you're going to get from Detroit every day. Hey, guys, it's going to be a dogfight. And that's what we see this Detroit Mercy team getting to back when we were playing. When Mercy came into the building, it was a dogfight back when I was playing and our guys were playing. Butler wasn't scared of nobody, but they did not want to go against Detroit Mercy. So, and that was beautiful. So when you see things like that, it's really empowering and encouraging.
I would say we're going to need you back in this building at the beginning of March. That's when the Horizon League tournament comes back. But I have a feeling I'm going to see you before that happens.
Most likely. And most likely you probably would definitely see me before, but I'll definitely be here in March. And, the goal is try to reach out to some of these guys and get some of these guys back to show their love and support as well. I know Chase Simon is doing his thing, but he's around, and, we'll get Big Low back in here and try to get some of these guys to continue to support the Titans and what they're going to do. And I'm banging on these guys winning the Horizon League.
Well, I'll tell you something. It starts with a guy like you. And I can't thank you enough for spending some time with us. Eli, this is great, man. And to be able to start it off and be able to have you and Orlando, to be able to see where we're going and see where we've been at the same time. And obviously, you're just as big of a part of the future as you've been to get us to this point. It means a lot. So thank you very much for spending the time.
Thank you for having me.
Eli Holman here on Tighten Up.
You get the idea that he takes his role as a mentor pretty seriously, and he relishes in that. And the fact that he can do that, and he talked about Ray McCallum Sr. and just how loyal he was and how important of a figure he was in his life. Now he's in that place, and he gets a chance to do that for somebody else. And it's pretty clear that he gets to do it for somebody like Orlando Lovejoy and perhaps a kid like Lewis Lovejoy a little bit later on. Maybe it's already happening as well. But, some people really take to that. And you certainly get the feeling that a role like that fits Eli Holman like a glove. A huge thanks to Eli for joining us here on this episode of Tighten Up. That's going to do it for today's show. Thanks to all of you for listening. Be sure to check us out next week. We'll be back with a couple of brand new episodes. And don't forget to follow me on X at @DanHasty. You can also follow me on Instagram at Dan Hasty. A massive thank you to our friends at The Shield for putting this together. And I will talk to you Titans of Industry next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Tighten Up, the podcast. Join our community at The Shield on theshieldnil.org and follow us on X and Instagram at theshieldnil.
This episode of Tighten Up the Podcast is brought to you by Hyperice, the leading provider of innovative technology for recovery, mobility, and improved performance. They help the Titans, and they can help you too. Be sure to catch their holiday savings at hyperice.com.